Hey everybody, Jeppy here, and today we are ranking the top 3 cards of every single set in the Scarlet and Violet era. And I have 2 tier lists for you guys today. One tier list is going to be the top 3 singles all added together in value and what dollar amount that is. And then the second tier list is just going to be my personal opinion of the top 3 cards, whether, I like the artwork, the Pokemon, etc., where I rank those. So for example, Scarlet and Violet base is going to be going all the way in the lowest tier in the value threshold because the top 3 singles of Scarlet and Violet base don't even equal above $99. In fact, it's going to be $91 when all 3 of those cards are put together. And here are the top 3 cards of Scarlet and Violet base. I really love these cards. I'm a huge Gardevoir, Ralts, Curlia, that whole evolution line fan. I love this story of the Ralts growing up with the family, growing up into evolving into Gardevoir later on as the family is growing up here. And I think the Drowsy is a nice card as well. Of course, I had that huge pump and dump basically. Unfortunately, the dollar threshold isn't going to be that high because of how easy the hit rates were for Scarlet and Violet base, and how there isn't like an absolutely insane chase card there as well. So with that being said, I know the dollar threshold isn't high, but I love these artworks so much that I'm throwing SV base all the way up into S tier. I don't care too much for the Drowsy, but the Gardevoir and Ralts are like some of my favorite cards in all of the SV blocks. So a little bias here. Of course, this is my bias tier list area. So SV base, S tier. So next we have Paldea Evolved, and Paldea Evolved is going to be joining us in the 300 through 599 tier because the top 3 cards all put together for Paldea is $338. Now, this is going to be a hot take. I actually really don't care too much for Paldea Evolved. Really, the only card that I actually care about is going to be the Magikarp. And for the longest time, I had no idea that this Gyarados was hiding in the back of this Magikarp card. I mean, it actually is an insane artwork. I mean, it clearly deserves to be the top card of Paldea Evolved, one of the best cards in the whole era. But out of these top 3, I don't really care for the Iono. I'm sorry, I don't personally care for the Raichu either. So with all that together, honestly, guys, I'm gonna have to put Paldea in B tier. I know, I'm sorry, I'm probably ruffling some feathers there, but to be honest, the Magikarp is really the only card I care about out of that top 3. Moving on is Obsidian Flames, old Darkness Ablaze 2.0. And where does that go? Right in here, because the top 3 cards of Obsidian Flames are only reaching $94 all together, which honestly is pretty close to the threshold of the next tier, but still not enough to crack the $100. And when we take a look at the top 3 of Obsidian Flames, artwork wise, it's actually really not that bad. I actually really dig this Charizard. The unfortunate thing is the pull rates are just so good, and like there's not a ton of SIRs in Obsidian Flames, so there's a lot of these Charizards out there, which is, the demand for this particular card isn't so astronomically high to where it doesn't matter how many is out there, it's gonna be a valuable card. But really, this Charizard over here is kind of meh in my opinion. I really don't like this gold Charizard. The Ninetales is pretty beautiful, and that Charizard does look really good, doesn't it? So personally, on my opinion of the artworks and the Pokemon for the top 3, I might actually put Obsidian in B tier as well. I mean, that Charizard does look nice. The Ninetales is nice. It's just that gold Charizard is just really poopy. Moving on to everyone's favorite 151. And now 151 is going to be joining us in the 300 through 599 tier, just like Paldea Evolved. And it's because all 3 of the singles put together is $328. And when we take a look at the top 3, clearly it's the big trio. You got your Charizard, you got your Blastoise and Venusaur. Now, this is gonna be a pretty big hot take for me. I never really resonated with these cards, if I'm being completely honest. I think the Blastoise looks really good. I am not a huge fan of the Charizard artwork. Again, personal opinion, everybody. Personal opinion tier list. The Venusaur, I don't really care for the Venusaur either. So I know that this is a set of a generation. Clearly the original Kanto Pokemon and all the starters, and this is a pretty stacked top 3 here. But I really they don't really speak to me. I'm sorry. I know, but they don't really speak to me. Now that I just got hit with a dislike on the video from you all, let's move on to Paradox Rift. You're gonna be happy now because Paradox Rift is my favorite set of the Scarlet and Violet era. And, you know, it's not even hitting the threshold of $300. All three of the best cards of Paradox Rift are only hitting $143. So it's going to be joined in this, the first member or the first set in this 100 through 299 tier. Now, like I said, Paradox Rift is my favorite set of the SV block, and it's because of this bad boy right here, the Groudon. The Altaria is one of my favorite Pokemon as well, and this is a beautiful artwork with, you know, Altaria going over, I hope that would be, you know, the Hoenn region in the background with the Wingull and possibly even a Pelipper in the background as well. And I said, this is such a beautiful artwork. The Groudon is so badass, my favorite Pokemon. Roaring Moon is okay. I kind of like Salamence. I'm not the biggest fan of the Paradox Pokemon. So this one, if I could toss this one off and put like, you know, Porygon Z or something from Paradox Rift on here, I would. But this is the top three of the value of all the cards, so Roaring Moon is included. But Groudon and Altaria are good enough for me to where I am going to, on my personal tier list, put it all the way at the top, and nothing's gonna beat it. I'm just letting you guys know, nothing's beating Paradox. But a close second is going to be Paldean Fates. Now, Paldean Fates is absolutely, the top three of Paldean Fates is just goated in my opinion. I love it. Now, it is not going to be reaching the $1,000 threshold as quite a few sets in the SV block are going to, but it does hit $608, so it is going to be joined in this green tier with all three of the cards being $608. And when we look at the top three of Paldean Fates, you have some banger artworks here. I have the Bubble Mew a 10. My wife pulled it. And it graded a 10. It's a flawless card. Nostalgia. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Mew, you can't deny that this artwork is just so unique, funny, goofy, and I have a nostalgia and a personal attachment to it because my wife pulled it and we got it graded as a 10. This Charizard is badass. It's without a doubt the best Charizard of the SV block. Obsidian Flames is really cool. The 151, it clears it. Gardevoir, my second favorite Pokemon. I love the shiny version. Such a majestic, beautiful card. I love the Wooper in the background. The color schemes of the blue, the teal. A lot of this is speaking to me. It's funny because I think overall as a top three, Paldean Fates for me might beat out Paradox as like my favorite artworks, but the Groudon and the Altaria are so good for Paradox that I'm gonna have to throw Paldean behind it. Moving on, after Paldean Fates, we got Temporal Forces. Now, Temporal Forces is gonna be joining Paradox in this tier because the top three value is going to be $157. And when we look at Temporal Forces, I know I'm gonna ruffle at some feathers here again. These don't really speak to me. Again, the Paradox Pokemon, I'm not the biggest fan of, and they're based off of Pokemon that I never even really cared about in the first place. I didn't really care about Cobalion. I think that's Cobalion. I don't even really care about Raikou. So I will say I like the Raging Bolt way better than normal Raikou, and I think this is actually a really nice artwork. Ghastly, I've personally never been a huge fan of like Ghastly, Hauntor, Gengar. I know that's a fan favorite Pokemon. A lot of people love that line. It doesn't really speak to me. Some nice artworks, but it's just not doing it for me. Someone else could put it all the way up in their S tier, their A tier, but for me, so yeah, honestly, none of those cards I would really care to have in my personal collection. Maybe the Ghastly, but the others, not for me. So I apologize to any Temporal Forces lovers. Now moving on is going to be Twilight Masquerade, and Twilight is a really nice set in my opinion. I wasn't the biggest fan of it when it first came out, but the Greninja really started to grow on me, and the Perrin and Carmine also did as well. Now the value of the three for Twilight Masquerade is going to be $429. So I believe it joins 151 in Paldea in this tier. And when we look at the top three, this is like really good. You know, it has been a really long time where trainer cards have been like a top hit in a set. Especially two trainer cards. Like you'd have to go back into like maybe early Sword and Shield era for that to happen. where 2 trainer cards are in the top 3. You have a really nice Greninja card, of course. It's not my absolute favorite card. Neither is Greninja for my favorite, one of my favorite Pokemons. It's not, but it is a very unique artwork. There's a lot going on. A little messy, in my opinion. Very colorful and unique, which you gotta appreciate. The trainers are really nice. I mean, they are really well done. The artworks are amazing. The Perrin and Carmine themselves look really nice. And with the Hisuian Growlithe in the camera lens over here on Perrin, makes this my second favorite card, and probably actually my favorite card in Twilight, to be honest, is Perrin. So this is actually a really good lineup, in my opinion. So we're gonna have to put Twilight in A tier for me. Like, you know, Greninja looks nice. Perrin, Carmine, honestly, are a really good top 3. All right, moving on. Now we have Stellar Crown, and Stellar Crown's dollar threshold is going to be joining Paradox and Temporal in kind of like the mid-tier era, because Stellar is $141 when you add up the top 3. And here we have Stellar, and you know, it is a really nice top 3. Honestly, these are some really cute cards, you know, especially when you pair it with the Charmander in the Obsidian Flames ETB promo, where you have that nice, like, you know, Bulbasaur Squirtle where there's always a Pidgey in the background, and then the with the Charmander being mad at the Pidgey. But here we are, we're ranking the top 3 for Stellar. Terrapagos, I think, is actually a pretty underrated card. Not a fan favorite Pokemon, a lot of messiness going on with the artwork, but I actually kind of like this art. I like the rainbow border. It just looks kind of like majestic and like mythical to me. I don't know why it gives me that vibes, but I actually really do like the Terrapagos art. Squirtle and Bulbasaur, I don't really like. I like the Pokemon. They're not my absolute favorite, but these are some really cute artworks. So I think I might put Stellar Crown. Okay, this is my personal opinion. I think I might put Stellar Crown upper B tier. I think upper B tier for me. Now moving on, we have Shrouded Fable. Now Shrouded Fable is going to be joining these friends over here in this tier, because the top 3 is going to be $131. Now, Shrouded Fable's top 3 value-wise really sucks, in my opinion. I mean, these are because they're playable cards. Earthen Vessel, the Pheasantipity, these are playable. So there is a factor to that of why the value is a little higher. Basic Energy is just like your standard gold energy. Now, I do like the gold energies. I would say the Sun and Moon era had a lot of these gold energies, but I mean, come on, if you're looking at, I mean, what are we looking at? Like, what are we looking at on my screen here? We got an Earthen Vessel gold of Pheasantipity, which, I mean, is there a single Pheasantipity fan in watching right now? Not me. The artwork I don't really care for. Basic Energy is okay, but like, what are we looking at on my screen here? Yeah, so you know, Shrouded Fable definitely deserves D tier, because like, I mean, maybe I should have made a whole F tier for Shrouded Fable, because I mean, that is a pretty horrific top 3 value wise art. Like, bleh. But moving on to some much better artworks is going to be Surging Sparks. Now, value wise, Surging Sparks is going to be joining in the $300 through $599 threshold, being $508 when you tally all of the top 3 together. Now, personally, I don't really care too much for the Pikachu. It is a nice artwork. A lot of people call it the Booty Chew, because like literally is Pikachu's whole rear end is pointing at the you know, at the card here. But it is very colorful. I kind of like the white background. The Terrestrialize is like meh, in my opinion, to be honest. I like the rainbow border, but overall it's not like really hitting for me. My Milotic is a beautiful card, especially when you pair it with the Feebas. Latias, one of my better liking Pokemon of Gen 3. Overall, you know, you got some great artworks here. Not my absolute favorite artworks on my favorite, you know, not my favorite Pokemon either. So personally, you know, really good art in my opinion, but not like anything crazy. So I am going to have to put it in a B tier for me, kind of right up there with Stellar Crown. So not quite A tier with like where I resonate with the art of the cards and the Pokemon, but an upper B tier. Like, I like it, but it's not like my absolute favorite. Moving on to Prismatic Evolutions, and we all saw this coming. Prismatic was going to go absolutely straight up to the $1,000 plus, you know, tier. At the time of recording the video, I think the Umbreon is still like what, like $950 or something like that. Top 3 in Prismatic is going to be $1,536, making it well far and above over the $1,000 threshold, and really cementing itself as the most valuable set of Scarlet and Violet. But here is where things get a little interesting, because I don't really care for Evolutions, which is like a big hot take. I know it just alienated like 50% of you all. Evolutions I never really cared for. I would say out of all of them I think I like Sylveon the most. I do think the Sylveon card is actually really beautiful. The Umbreon, I don't really care for it. I'm so sorry. I like the Umbreon much better, if I'm being completely honest. The color scheme is just weird for me. I don't like these like muddy colors that aren't like, you know, contrasting well. Like it just feels like just muddy to me. I don't know why I have like that word comes to mind when I say that. It doesn't like hit for me. I don't like the colors. Leafeon is good. I do like Leafeon. Sylveon is gonna be my favorite one. I actually really do like this artwork. But the Umbreon, like, it's just not like it's not hitting for me. So unfortunately, Prismatic is gonna have to be probably joining B tier as well, if I'm being honest. Yeah, Umbreon, not for me. I like the Sylveon. Leafeon is good, but not great in my opinion. The only thing great in here to me out of this top 3 is Sylveon. So B tier. But moving on, here we have Journey Together, and Journey Together is going to be joining once again in this tier. You can see where a lot of like the dollar value, you know, is going to be kind of where you would expect most, you know, sets top 3 to be. As they age, maybe the prices of the cards will get, you know, better and higher once they become more scarce, especially real minty versions of the cards. But Journey Together, you know, it's not difficult pull rates. A pretty good top 3 in my opinion, but it's going to be $257, so almost hitting up into this tier, but we're about like $40 short. And with Journey Together, personally, I think this is a pretty good lineup. I've always liked Lily, and this Lily's Clefairy is beautiful in my opinion. Clefairy is a nice Pokemon as well, and I just like the color schemes. Like it's very like sunny and vibrant, and there's a lot of happiness going on. The Iona's Belly Bolt, some people might not like it. I actually do like this card. Belly Bolt just looks so goofy on there. I like how she's resting her head on his you know, the tummy, if you would, yeah, tummy, I guess you'd call it that. And there's just a lot of goofiness going on. I like the colors. Salamence, another Pokemon that I do like. Not my favorite pseudo legendary or dragon Pokemon, but can't argue that the artwork does look good. Probably could have done a little more with Salamence, make him look a little more menacing, or have like a fight in the background, or I don't know, maybe a volcano erupting, or just something cooler. But you know, it's not bad. It's good. And then we have some pretty great artworks here for me. That might be a hot take, but I do like those artworks. I'm gonna have to probably put it in A tier. I mean, or B tier. You know, I'm sitting here. I sat here for like the last minute. You know, I edited out, of course, but like, man, I don't know. Where do I put it in A tier or B? If I'm thinking about it this hard, I should probably put it in A tier. Like, clearly something is telling me to bump it up a little bit. It's funny because I'm not like the biggest fan of the Pokemon there, but the cards just look nice. Like they do, like to me. Like I actually, they look nice. So I think I'm gonna do A tier. Moving on, we have an absolute banger of a set. One of my absolute favorites is gonna be Destined Rivals. Now for Destined Rivals, Black Bolt and White Flare, and probably even Journey Together, maybe even one Prismatic as well. You gotta also remember, guys, that these sets are relatively new, so the singles are gonna be way more expensive out the gate, and then as a lot gets open and lots get open, you know, goes on the market, it's gonna go down. And then eventually, once like stuff goes out of print, it gets a little more rarer, especially minty versions of cards. Like the prices are gonna move back up as it becomes more scarce. And more appreciated in the future for people who weren't there to collect the cards in the hobby at this time when the set came out. So you have to remember that. So Destined Rivals, you know, it's gonna be joining Paldean up here at $709, which, to be honest, might be a little too high in my opinion, but these are some really great cards here. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Mewtwo. I know he is a legendary favorite. A lot of people love him. He's okay for me, but this artwork is really good. Maybe you could have done a little more with the artwork, but overall, Giovanni, Mewtwo in a card about, you know, a set with like Team Rocket, like, you know, Destined Rivals. It's going to be a really good card. Now, where the heat for me is Cynthia's Garchomp and Team Rocket's Moltres. Garchomp, one of my favorite Pokemon. Moltres, one of my favorite Pokemon. Badass artwork with one of my favorite trainers. Check. Badass artwork with one of my favorite legendary Pokemons. Check. I mean, you're lying to yourselves if you don't think that this Cynthia's Garchomp is just absolutely amazing. Garchomp is, I mean, chef's kiss. Wonderful. Best pseudo legendary out there. And I'll die on that hill. Cynthia, fantastic trainer. Gen 4, love it all. This Moltres, I love that burning, like, effect coming off of the wings, really making it look like majestic, but also something you should fear. Like, you should not want to be around this Pokemon and this Pokemon as well, Garchomp. But like, I feel like my skin would burn just standing next to it. I don't know. Like, these arts are just really speaking to me. It's Pokemon that I genuinely enjoy from a set that I really like. So, I mean, it really goes without saying. Destined Rivals is going to be S tier. Probably above Scarlet Violet, Paldean. Yeah, I think this is a good lineup for my S tier. Like I said, everyone, art is subjective. Now, moving on to probably the most inflated for pricing sets right now, because at the time of the recording of the video, you know, Black Bolt and White Flare just came out not too long ago. So Black Bolt is going to be $1,135, which is, you know, really up there, and I would not be surprised if the prices do drop below the $1,000 threshold. These cards are really nice. I mean, you have one of the most unique cards that Pokemon has ever printed, an all red card in a semi-popular mythic Pokemon, Victini, and then some pretty popular legendaries. You got this sick Zekrom, which may look like a normal full art to some people, but it's a secret rare. And it's very unique with the all black background with just barely enough contrast to have Zekrom pop through, which I think is like really interesting and cool. And of course the Zekrom SIR already, I mean, that's sick. I mean, it looks like he's about to land on something, and you got the electricity in the background. You got a really nice color scheme of the dark, you know, the darkness meets the blue lightning, and then a little bit of yellow down here. It works for me. I like it. Not enough to put it in S tier for me though, but A tier. I think this is, I love the uniqueness of it. And moving on to White Flare, which is going to be the last set on the tier list for both of them. Pretty similar to Black Bolt. It's going to be all the way up here in $1,178. And I think the reason why it is a little more expensive than Black Bolt is because for some reason the White Flare Victini is a little more expensive. I mean, they look exactly the same to me. For some reason, it's a little more expensive. Maybe slightly harder to pull, or maybe not as much White Flares being open. So maybe these amount of Victinis aren't hitting the market. I don't know. It's a little more expensive, but again, love the red uniqueness. I love how, again, the Reshiram, how may look like a normal full art to some people, but it's not. It's a secret rare. I believe so. Secret rare SIR, one of those. I love the contrast to where it's like where you could barely make out Reshiram. I just like, it's just cool. Like, you know, Pokemon hasn't really done that very much. And, you know, normally I'm like, you know, I love to have the contrast of like colors popping stuff, but for whatever reason, it works here. And again, Reshiram's cool. Also fantastic SIR artwork here. A little messy. You know, I would have liked the background to be a little more, not so muddy or blurry. I would have liked it to be a little more sharp to where you can make out what's behind it. But you know, it does look nice. Of course, I love the color palettes and, the fire coming out of its tail, does look pretty cool. So overall, White Flare, great. I love the uniqueness, just like with Black Bolt. and we're gonna throw that right up in A tier. Pretty underrated so far, in my opinion. So everyone, this is the current value of the top 3 of all of the sets in the Scarlet and Violet era. Do with this information what you will. If you think it's a good time to jump in with some of these cards, I would wait on some of the ones up here. And maybe even Destined Rivals as well. Maybe wait just a little bit if you're picking it up. All right, everyone. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe to notifications if you're new. Now, with all that being said, Jeppy out.